Back me or sack me, said Italy's young and ambitious prime minister. But Italy's voters chose to sack Matteo Renzi, handing him a withering defeat of his reform referendum. But developing in the last couple of hours, he has offered his resignation. It has not been accepted yet. So while we wait to see how that plays out, Italians fed up with the EU might be getting ready to say adieu to the euro. Goodbye. This matters to your money, folks, because Italy is Europe's fourth largest economy. Joining us now via Skype from Ireland, former EU ambassador to the U.S., John Bruton. He was also the Prime Minister of Ireland in the 90s and engineered the so-called Celtic Tiger economy, which fueled amazing 11% growth in the country. So you've got some real chops here, sir. Thank you for joining us. Let me get right to it. Are we looking at this saying, oh, those crazy Italians, it's them again, changing their government for the 58,000th time? But I have to ask, should what just happened in Italy concern our investor audience here at Fox Business?
Not in the short term. Italy does have a long-term problem that their economy is growing through slowly. Their government debt is capable of being serviced, but it is too large. They have to restructure their banks. But there is time to do all of those things. It would have been better if Prime Minister Renzi was able to continue with the stable government. There will now be a period when a new government will have to be formed. But his party has a working majority which will enable them to carry on until the election is due in about 18 months' time.
So what is the investor impact here for us? Let's say people don't even own a single Italian-based stock or a company that does business with Italy.
I think nothing very significant. There will be, if necessary, the European Central Bank will intervene if yields on Italian bonds get too high. But I think that's going to be a temporary phenomenon. In the long run, there are certain things that need to be done to stabilise the euro, like the introduction of a mutual deposit insurance across the eurozone and some improvement in the enforcement of some of the rules. But generally speaking, I think there's nothing in the short run to worry about.
Well, Ambassador, you sound calm, but you are more of what some people would say is a traditionalist, or, you know, as they call it, an establishment politician, because back in the day, people followed different rules. Italians are pretty frustrated at the moment, and you look at the Italy version of Brexit, which is Italy. You know, we could put up a whole bunch of different ones. There's Frexit for France. You know, I mean, we can put it up on the screen. To Portugal, finish. Austria instead of Austria, check out. Who's next? Is it Italy? I mean, they might have no choice. They may get jettisoned if they can't keep their metrics up to EU standards.
Well, first of all, I don't think this was an anti-establishment vote, really. In fact, what Renzi wanted to do was to promote change, and some of the establishment figures like former Prime Ministers D'Alema and Monti were against Renzi's proposal. So the establishment was on both sides of this. I think the problem is low growth in Italy. They're not growing enough to get their debts down to a sustainable level, and we need to find ways of releasing the potential of the Italian economy. There isn't enough internal competition in Italy. There are lots of oligopolies that are keeping prices unduly high, and that's not allowing Italy to its economy to breathe. And they can't devalue anymore now that they're in the euro. But devaluation is a solution to nothing.
Matteo wanted to streamline lawmaking, and he wanted to boost competitiveness, which would have neutralized some of those problems. They rejected that. So I begin to wonder, are we about to see not the dissolution of the euro, but the beginnings of a slight crumbling here, as we see death by 1,000 cuts? I mean, Greece still hanging by a thread, although trying to come back here. Italy may not have those required levels that you must have. It's like, can you pay the dues to the club up the street? If you can't, you can't be a member.
The short answer is no, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is another political crisis in Italy, where an opportunity to speed up change has been passed for the time being. Perhaps eventually some of the people who are on the protest side may have to take responsibility. But when they take responsibility, perhaps they will discover that some of their protests didn't make as much sense as they thought they did at the time.
That is the way it always goes, isn't it? You know, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Prime Minister, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
John Bruton is the former Prime Minister of Ireland, as if you couldn't tell, and former EU ambassador to the U.S.